Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to PCM20 Champions episode 28. Before we get started on a season chock full of World Tour races, because, well, we're in the World Tour now, give an update on our new character to the team. It's Storm this time, and I've finally had a chance to get everything updated, tweaked, and working properly. And realistically, the only thing right now is the potential is still showing what our scouted, which was the old potential and not the current potential. But outside of that, everything else functioning as intended. Storm is set up as a stage racer, so a GC contender, and then you can see that she is starting at a 65. But you can also see for the first time we have a character that's starting with varying attributes. We have a 60 in the flat, but we have a 66 mountain, 65 hills, only 56 in the cobble and 60 in the sprint, 55 in the Barrador, as it's completely unimportant. So for the first time, we are taking the role of actually trying to shape the progress of the character a little bit and see how that development takes place, because we've done a generic 50 across the board or 55 or 60 across the board for every character. Now we finally have varying current attributes as well as maximum ceiling attributes. We do not have an 85 in everything. Storm will have an 85 potential in mountain and recovery, resistance, stamina, hills, time trial, prologue, acceleration will all get close. Downhill a little bit further behind, flat a little bit further behind. So there's a lot of potential in there, but the cobble rating will never be great. The sprint rating will never be great. The Barrador rating will be quite awful. So we'll see how that does with a unique set of circumstances for Storm. Now, with our other previous characters, they may or may not ever reach their potential. Once they hit that maximum level, they still might be short of that mark. I think there's a pretty good chance that Storm could achieve max potential. One, she has high potential, but two, without that max ceiling and starting higher than our other riders had started, I think there's a fairly good chance that she will get there. All right, well, let's go ahead and get on with the racing. Tour Down Under kicks off the season. We're on the first punchy stage. We were running out of water, so Cyclops went to get water, and 20 kilometers later, still never finished the task, is the one who would be serving as our lead out. So we'll see if they actually get back up here or not. They're now attacking to try to do so, and then they will immediately, there we go, take over as the front rider, and then we will put them on the attack at about a 99, because, well, this is it. We're on the final 9 kilometers. We are into attack mode here and going for the win. I was planning on setting this up a little bit sooner so that by the time we were at the base of this climb, we were in better shape and could maybe split things off, but we're a little off on that. But we can attack the descent, and that's going to be the intention, is to try to attack right here as we go over the top and attack the descent. So we'll see what we could do with 6K downhill. By the way, where the heck are we at? Cyclops is back here. Gamora is the back rider right now. Spider-Man has kind of refit into the line. Why don't you squeeze in right there? Thor is at the front right now. There you go. Leading the push.
The riders are entering the last 5 kilometers of the stage.
Okay, we're down to 21 riders that are able to keep up currently, and down to 4 kilometers. Let's see if we can stay out front for this one. Wow, Cyclops has recovered. Why don't you go ahead and get on the back and break up any tow that might be coming, and I want you to sprint because it's 2.5K for one thing.
And they're off. It's going to be very fast.
1.5K. 1K. That's everybody sprint territory. I think we might hang on to this thing. I think we might be able to get a 1, 2, 3 out of this. Yes, positioning. Very important. Spider-Man, Deadpool, Doctor Strange, Gamora, Cyclops. Cyclops up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the actual favorites, Hershey, Alpha Late,
The tailenders are still coming
Kwiatkowski
in.
up there as well, and just 20 riders in the front group, or 21 riders in the front group, and that's a huge gap. And there's a whole team of, I'm assuming, GC contenders that went back to grab their leader for this little punchy stage. And with Wollonga Hill, the only other punchy stage in this race, that's going to establish pretty significant precedence, because there was only 21 in the group, and we've got 7 of them. There's the gap, 50 seconds, so that's a big time loss. That essentially eliminates almost all those riders. You still have the 21, and then Grunewagen was in the next group. He was the leader of the race, missed the split, so we establish a very, very strong presence. And there's definitely still some contenders, though, so it's not over, but we eliminated quite a few. As we prepare to hit Wollonga Hill the first of 2 times, we'll finish at the top of it the second time. We're going to prepare our riders by upping their effort. They've been in cruise mode so far. We just caught the breakaway, so all 140 riders are now in the group as we turn and head up the hill the first time. You can see it's pretty steep, 9% for a good chunk there. Ramps down, ramps up, back and forth, but you get pretty close, and then just before the top there, you hit about 11%. That's the finish line, though, not the top part that we just went through. So there is that little bit more to it. I'm not sure why Thor lost whoever they were supporting. Don't know which one for sure, but we'll reset that. We're going to sprint chain this anyway, so 15k to go. It's just about time to set that up, but we'll wait for the descent. And then we're going to go for the win. Of course, last time went pretty well. Right now, we're getting to that point where the riders, their ratings, while they don't have the highest attributes, they're so well balanced with that high ceiling that there's a lot of good things happening. One bad thing, though, is it's hot and rainy today, so the race day condition expected was pretty bad. Where we should be on neutral, the expected was a -1. And, well, that's exactly what we have. Average across the team, Gamora at a 0 and Spider-Man at a -2. Everybody else at a -1, so that does net neutral on what it should be for the day just because of the weather. So everybody else should be facing a similar situation with that. And, of course, at this point in the season, a lot of riders are not going to have their fitness at the highest level anyway. Gamora's the obvious one to ride for. Doctor Strange looking pretty good. It's 76, 75. We got to figure out who's going to be. We got a 75, 74, 74, 77, but a -4. Spider-Man is leading the GC. Maybe we put you behind Gamora. Deadpool, very punchy and sprinty, so that's probably a good option on the next one. Thor might be a good option up there as well. But let's see, is there any more? I like the climbing on Doctor Strange and the resistance. We'll put Doctor Strange and then Thor. Ant-Man, and then Cyclops is still the weak link, but not like before. Cyclops is so much better. Late push last season that really upped the ante on Cyclops, well, and Doctor Strange for that matter. Those are the 2 that we added in a year ago, the 55-60 starters compared to everybody else. They are going to eclipse a lot of those, the other riders this season, I would imagine, and they're going to become leaders. Maybe not necessarily the top 2 by the end of the season, but they're going to go from domestiques to the riders we ride for on a pretty regular basis pretty soon. All right, so we're set up. There's the left-hander, and we head up the hill again to the finish. Also, 5K banner just before that, so you can see we're going to start making that push much harder, much faster. And I think we're going to start right here at 5K to go. Put that up to a 96 so we can get out front, stay out front. Okay, gel up there, and gel up there, and get a move on there. And now we attack this thing pretty hard. We'll say a 97 to start. Ant-Man really pushing the tempo, 9th overall, leading the KOM. Good strong climb, now 2.8K to go. Gamora's still in really good shape. And here comes Tom Pidcock going for it, but he's going way too early. And Thor's out of energy, so on to Doctor Strange. We'll go 98. Here comes another attacker. Honore. Pidcock, you can see, just crashes out, and then there's Mark Hershey, 1.4k. There's the top. Go a little bit longer. In fact, use your sprint. Doctor Strange there. Now Deadpool leading out Gamora. Gamora's going to have that sprint that nobody else is going to have as we go under 1k to go. So we're going to go 97 for her as she tries to come out of this. She's got to find some space, though. Now, here's the thing, is they're all tired, and Gamora's going to push for the line, and she's going to get there first. Just ahead of Mark Hershey. Get the win. I think that should be for the GC as well, and we're again looking at just over 20 riders at the top. 22. Open a gap. One rider trying to bridge that gap. Hopefully that doesn't put everybody on the same time. It shouldn't. But there was a bike link either side of that rider. So it's always iffy on whether you're going to get same time or not. You can see small groups all over the place. Cyclops, the only one who lost significant time, is the early lead-out rider. Also, Thor was 22nd, but that's certainly not off the back. That was the back end of the front group. Everybody else still had a little energy to spare, just not the red bar that you need. Pidcock, early move, dropped them to 9th. Gamora with the win. Doctor Strange, same time at the top. Same time in the middle. That one single rider bridged that gap and ends up with 54 riders on the same time. Doesn't matter. This is the last stage, and the positioning means everything. Gamora and Spider-Man now tied on the top on time, but Gamora into the lead. Hershey is third. Deadpool is right there on same time. And then Doctor Strange, same time for 6th. And Ant-Man is 7th. That's 5 riders in the top 7, including a 1-2. And then now just 18 riders left on same time, but it could have been less if those gaps were given, if that single rider didn't bridge that gap between the front group and the second group on the road. Looks like Hershey withdrew from the race on the final stage, so they must have crashed out. After 6 stages, final standings, a 1-2-3, we sweep the podium with the absence of Hershey, and then also move up a 4th rider into the top 5, and Ant-Man also moving up a spot to 6th place. So after 3 seasons of playing around with the database, I think I've stumbled onto something pretty important. I can't say with certainty. I would estimate that I'm probably 70% onto something here, meaning there's a solid 30% chance that I don't have something here. But there is some evidence, and I'll go over the evidence that suggests that I think we might have figured something out about development that's incredibly important. Now, when we looked at the database in the last episode, we noticed that if you have 6-8 potential or 5-8 potential, that development is pretty similar. There's not a huge difference. Low potential, absolutely. They move slow. But anything in the high potential, any of those numbers that are close to each other but at that high end, they all develop quite similar. But we did notice that Star-Lord was very much lagging behind compared to the others. And I wanted to kind of figure out, why is Star-Lord so far behind? Well, I think I might be onto something. Something that's very much about to become an issue, not just for Star-Lord, but for others. Now, if you remember way back to Season 1 and the first couple of episodes of the series, and you might not, so let me refresh your memory, all of the writers had unknown training styles. Now, it was assumed that groundbreaking would be it for all of them because of the high potential and zero capital and high gain potential. You know, you piece those together, they should all be groundbreaking. But what we did when it came to training for all of them is we didn't have them as groundbreaking. I had the default trainers that we had. And we see that Groot has actually just changed to modern and isn't the only one. We have some that are at modern, but you can also see relations aren't there for all of them anymore. So the thing is it was wide open and none of our trainers were groundbreaking. And so relations deteriorated quickly. And then as soon as they hit that 3-star point, you get the email. When they drop to 3 stars, you get that email that says, oh, this isn't the trainer for me. I'm this style of trainer. Could you get somebody better? So then I hired our first legendary groundbreaking trainer. And those first couple of riders, specifically Hulk and Gamora, there was a third one, it might have been either Deadpool or Ant-Man. I don't remember which one for sure now. But those first couple of riders that gave us that notification almost immediately, they were the first ones to take off on development as soon as we changed to a proper trainer. And they got a leg up on everybody else. And they were the first ones every round of leveling up ever since, because everybody's very, very similar on their training. But that was the first key difference, was how long did it take before we got that notification and then we changed their trainer. That advantage has carried on throughout this entire series. Also, even though at the moment there are quite a few who have low relations, and what I've discovered is with virtually all of them, their relations are only lasting about a year. Even with a legendary groundbreaking trainer with groundbreaking style, it's only lasting 11 to 12 months. And then they get strained relations and they want to move on to somebody else. I've been through 3 groundbreaking coaches, but we've been through 3 seasons. So we're now hitting that point once again where suddenly a bunch of them have strained relations and are looking for yet another trainer. And I can't go back, can't cycle through because they've been with all 3 of them at one point or another. So we now need to get into a 4th one for those who have that strained relationship. And maybe it's time to just fire one of the existing and condense down a bit for the others. Well, anyway, what I noticed was that Star-Lord hit that 3-star threshold a long time ago. Much sooner than the others. And has spent the last probably 6 months with the same trainer, which we now see it's down to 2.5 star, the only one who is at very low points. And all of those others, all of them, with the exception of Star-Lord, who hit it like 6 months ago, all of them. Thor, I think, hit it in like October, but the rest, all in January, all in the current month that we're in. So they've just reached that point. You can see that Thor is one of the others who's further behind, but not lagging massively. It's only been a few months since that happened. But Star-Lord did it quite a while ago. And Star-Lord's the one who is lagging behind. So here's my hunch that, again, I'm about 70% sure on, because there's not a mountain of evidence, but there's that season 1 evidence. And now evidence starting to emerge yet again right now, is that I think the trainer and the relationship with the trainer and the quality of the trainer is far more important than we give it credit for. There have been suggestions in the forums that the trainer means nothing from people who have looked at the database. But from what I'm seeing in the development of the writers, I think that variable is quite massive and quite responsible for our rapid development. Having legendary trainers and good relationships with them has been huge. We have a legendary trainer with a bad relationship, and Star-Lord has struggled and is well behind, other than Storm, who obviously was just added in. So I think we're onto something with that. But again, I can't say with certainty. But I think there is something to that. So give some care, give some attention to your trainers. I think it makes a big difference. That is all the time I have for this one, though. I'm going to bypass Cadell Evans' Great Ocean Road Race, as that's a fairly minor one on the calendar, and then we're going to push into February, and I think the UAE Tour is the next up for us. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button. I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there, and bye for now.